I'm alive! Been out of commission for a few months, but I'm back for a brief time. A new Bloons TD Battles 2 update has dropped, and it's time for my take on it. Do you miss seeing Bloons TD Battles flash? I do, and of course there's a reason I'm opting to show this instead of Bloons TD Battles 2. Well, the update sucks, but that's not to say I'm the only one with that opinion. But where I differ is the issue dives much deeper than the update itself. Let's cut right to the chase. Many players dislike the change to the in-game hero XP leveling. Now, that's not to say that it was fine before. I had a hunch it was eventually going to be changed, because going from level 1 to level 2 in a single round at the start of the game definitely felt off to me. And this was busted with Obins that allowed you to place a druid and have it just double after the first round, and it would very nicely handle whatever bloons your opponent would send you until round 12. No camo? No problem. Just drop a sub, upgrade it thrice on the top, and presto. Not like this nerf changes that much to that strategy. You just don't get the level 2 buff until round 3, which honestly doesn't change that much. Brambles got nerfed because why? There was literally zero reason to do this. You get Brambles later, which is okay, I guess, but also lowering the Pierce on them is completely unnecessary. The main problem is that the Druid synergy is so powerful since it allows you to easily snowball your defense and become nearly unstoppable with any rush. I have a suggestion to nerf Oben without having a strong effect on the other heroes, because some of the other heroes have become borderline unusable after this update. For example, with Churchill, you have to sink around $3,000 instead of $100 to get his camo detection in time, which is still easily doable if you have farms. Otherwise, it'll be hard to afford it without getting drained. And this is for placing the hero as soon as you're able, mind you. As for balancing Oben, and Ocean Oben by extension, swap levels 2 and 5. This change won't do much for Ocean Oben since the main reason of using him is for buffing Super Monkeys. They have one base Pierce, effectively doubling their Pierce, and you can't fight Super Monkeys that early in the game anyway, but his early game is quite weak, so this should help out. Revert the Bramble Pierce changes on Oben. There was nothing wrong with them before, and now they're kind of underwhelming for what they do with the slower leveling. Beyond that, this is really a non-issue and mostly Reddit overreacting to this change. I'm personally not a big fan of this new system either, but in my opinion, it's still better than what we had before, and it'll be a matter of updates before something else with it changes. It is nice to see these regular changes to the game to keep things fresh, and just accept the fact that there are still flaws with the game that will be corrected in future updates. But you see, there's a major problem lurking within the game. I understand that Bloons TD Battles 2 was meant to be marketed as a more competitive game, but the problem with doing so, as I've mentioned in my Why I'm Not Excited for Bloons TD Battles 2 video, the free-for-all experience that the previous installments had was thrown out the window entirely, at least when the game first released, and that severely limited the audience that it was geared towards. On top of that, the horrible launch made people leave the game quickly, especially with the game servers going bonkers toward the end of the season, though this one surprisingly hasn't been an issue at all, so they may have fixed the problem. Still doesn't stop my videos from racking up tons of views around that time though. Now that Play with Fire, Speed, and Random Quad battles have been added, the free-for-all experience is coming back somewhat. However, problems remain. I also mentioned before that this game would struggle to keep any sort of growth, and so far my hypothesis has been right. And I'd like you to take a guess as to how many months of player growth this game has so far. Go on, take a guess. If you guess 0, you're correct. Despite all the new content that has been coming out since the turbulence subsided, the amount of players has been in decline every single month. At least on the Steam platform that is the case. To find a game that has an even worse decline streak, you have to go back to Tower Keepers in 2019. Though to that game's credit, the peak players is at least increasing sometimes, even when the average amount continues to drop. There's also Counter-Snipe, but that one I can't even open because it's just that unpopular. I know it's not the full scope of the player base, but it's still depressing to see these numbers. Perhaps more are opting to play on a tablet, which you could make a case for. I don't have any analytics handy on that end, but using the Steam data as a barometer, I can't imagine it being much better there either. So why is this happening? Sure, the meta can get quite stale and stubborn at times, and often tough to counter. But the 1.5 update basically took out a problem that was already solved with Universal XP in version 1.2. The idea with Universal XP was that you're not forced to use bad towers in games to get upgrades for them. You can't use Universal XP for heroes because... why? You really should be able to. Anyway, before 1.5, unlocking towers was super easy because you only needed a few games in most cases to get each tower unlocked. But you would only have a tier 2 available to start off, similar to how TD Battles Mobile was like. Now the progression is closer to that of the Flash version, where you buy once for all, but the last tier of upgrades at a typically higher cost than on mobile, and then a second time for the remaining upgrades. Not bad. In fact, this new system actually allows you to get all the upgrades much quicker and cheaper, even though it can take longer to initially get the tower. I know what some of you might be thinking. This has become pay to win again. I'll get there soon, I promise. If you've never bothered to play ranked battles ever since the casual battle option was added, then yes, this update screws you over badly because you're now even further behind at unlocking all the towers. Even with the extra chest freebie that was added in the most recent update, it can only help you so much. If you rely only on the daily rewards, you can get all the initial heroes, towers, and their tier 5 upgrades in 205 days, assuming the only thing you do is check on the game each day to claim the freebie chest and all the other free rewards from the shop. And it would only take around a minute to do so each time, a near effortless task. Compare that to when the game first came out, those 205 minutes you spent claiming rewards would only get you 0.5% of the way through all the towers and upgrades, assuming you spend 6 minutes on each game, including the queue times. Heck, you wouldn't even have all the towers unlocked in that time, let alone the upgrades. So if you are complaining about how long it takes to get all the towers and upgrades unlocked now, then whoa, it was so much worse. But fine. You still want to play the game and actually have a decent progression rate and don't want to go into ranked arenas because you have a skill issue. Well, I have good news. I'm finally getting to that now. In fact, I think ranked arenas could also use a fair amount of overhauling. Casual Battle gets the 25 monkey money with the usual XP gains from wins, and 10 monkey money from losses, no bonus from no lives lost or first blood. Private matches remain the same as they currently are. Ranked battles now cost 10 monkey money to enter. This is to discourage players from disconnecting from the game if they get a bad map, especially since a good portion of players have their accounts flagged for hacking if they abuse this exploit. Just having a fee to enter each time would eliminate the need to have this flag, since it will punish the player without being overly harsh about it. Losing a match in this case would simply make you break even at the worst. Of course, there still should be other punishments that apply, such as automatically dropping a trophy if the player disconnects at the hero and tower selection screens repeatedly, or losing elo points if they're in the Hall of Masters instead, and even dropping out of the Hall of Masters in egregious cases. This adds yet another deterrent from disconnecting at the tower and hero selection screens, if the other options don't work, which most of the time, they currently don't. Once Ninja Kiwi figures out how to properly implement the system that actually punishes the player by docking a trophy and elo points at the tower and hero selection screens, then this monkey money gating could probably be removed because it only does the bare minimum to stop DCing. Plus Reddit would probably overreact to that, just like they do with everything else. Losing too many times to the same person in a row also flags your account for some reason, even in private matches, or at least it used to. In fact, my account was flagged some time ago for just that, allegedly boosting, according to Ninja Kiwi, even though Sam denies any cases of private matches flagging accounts, though he has had a shady record when it comes to his responses in the past, so this should be taken with a grain of salt. Well, if XP farming is the issue here, then just change the whole fucking system. It really shouldn't be at this point, since now XP is purely for cosmetics, but I'll throw this old suggestion out there anyway. In addition, ranked battles should reward more battle points and better battle chests as you move up the ranks. It's currently way too easy to bag chests, even with VIP, and then dump good ones once the time comes to get them. And by the way, I have a video that you can watch which can help you get these better chests without having to go through the hassle. The main reason is there's simply not enough battle points to go around to unlock them all. So this new system that I made here should streamline it, especially with the new freebie chest added in this update, which by the way costs 0 battle points to open. You'll still eventually reach the point of bagging chests, but it'll take longer to do so, unless you have VIP, where in that case, the chest queue can actually be manageable for once. The current XP bonuses for higher arenas is negligible and should be scrapped for this system. One last point, the seasons are too damn long. This issue used to be worse when the game first came out, but there were also balance changes made midway through the season since some of the fixes were dire. The problem with doing this is it sort of ruins the point of an ELO scoring system, which is already sort of flawed anyway. But the other problem with the seasons being so long is if we continue getting updates like this one, the game will become stale very quickly. It's quite easy now to get all the aesthetics for any given season and still have a couple weeks left over just waiting around doing nothing. The seasons should be 4 weeks, 5 weeks tops. The last few have been 40 days long, with a couple days of downtime between seasons to have a seamless transition between seasons. So having the seasons shortened a couple weeks will remove the slogfest toward the end of seasons and keep the player base fresh. I think at this point I've covered the main issues that this game currently has, and hopefully these changes will be implemented in the next season.